For the first time, the state of Utah conducts a mortality study on people experiencing homelessness.
And we're tracking storms and thunderstorms producing heavy rain. What's the possibility of flash flooding? I'll let you know.
A young man is dead and his brother is in the hospital after their boat was struck by lightning on the Bear River over the weekend. How one Ogden business is rallying the community to help the family.
Officials claim he raped 2 women, faked his own death, fled the country, and was caught in a hospital in Scotland. What happened today at Nicholas Rossi's preliminary hearing.
Hello, I'm Max Roth. We begin Fox 13 News Live at 5 with breaking news. A tragedy in Santaquin. We've confirmed with police that a 5-year-old boy has died after an accidental shooting. It happened in South Santaquin in the area of Santaquin Canyon Road just after 2 o'clock this afternoon. Paramedics tried to save the boy's life, but he was pronounced dead on scene. Police say the boy got a hold of the gun in the home and accidentally fired the one fatal shot. The family's asking for privacy right now while they grieve. We do have a crew on the way to Santaquin right now. We won't be bothering that family, but we will bring you more information as soon as we get it. Well, now to our other top story. A new report out today shows that homeless Utahns are dying at higher rates and earlier in life than the rest of the population. Fox 13 News has team coverage. In the wake of this research, Fox 13 News anchor Robin O'Guinier spoke with a community advocate about the struggles they see every day. But we begin with Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow on Utah's Capitol Hill with the breakdown of what this new study reveals.
This is the first time the state of Utah has done a mortality study on people experiencing homelessness, and the numbers, while stunning to us, are not surprising to the state epidemiologist.
People experiencing homelessness are dying at higher rates and at younger ages than the general population, and many of these deaths are preventable.
The Utah Department of Health and Human Services added a question to death statistics it collects. Is the person homeless? That led to a new report on homeless mortality rates presented on Utah's Capitol Hill late Thursday. 216 people died last year unsheltered, which this new report says is 10 times the rate of the general population. People experiencing homelessness are dying younger than the rest of the population.
The mean age of death for people experiencing homelessness during 2023 was 56 years of age. Compare that to the general population or our housed population, 72 years of age.
Chronic diseases like heart issues and diabetes and substance abuse were the top causes of death. The state epidemiologist was not surprised by the data her agency gathered.
Unfortunately, I don't think they were a huge surprise. We knew that there would be a higher death rate in this population than the people who are housed. It's unfortunate, but I think that's expected. I think there's information in there that really can help us address the problems.
The report includes recommendations.
These are preventable deaths, yeah, and we have a variety of recommendations in the report. Some of those include expanding on housing options. That's not a novel idea, but we suggest to include respite care, bolster facilities like the In-Between and places like that. Expand on, make more accessible primary health care and substance use treatment facilities for those experiencing homelessness.
Now, this report and its recommendations will be used here on Utah's Capitol Hill as advocates push for policy and funding. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Thank you so much, Ben. I'm Fox 13 News anchor Robin O'Guinier. Earlier today, I spent time with Carol Hallowell of Switchpoint Community Resource Center. We discussed how critical the needs are for Utahns who don't have a dependable home or shelter.
Tell me, we were talking a little bit before, and what I got from you is that most of us who are not homeless, we're kind of closer to being homeless than we really think, in terms of being homeless isn't the face that we're used to seeing, right? So tell me about some of the issues you guys have been seeing.
Absolutely. I think the saying that all of us are one paycheck away is very true right now. With the inflation that we've seen in the last couple of years, food's higher, gas is higher, rent is definitely higher. And so a lot of people are feeling that pinch and that strain. We're seeing it because of the tripled numbers at our food pantries that we operate across the state. We're seeing it on how many applications are trying to get into deeply affordable housing because they just can't make it work anymore on the paycheck that they're getting. I think the area it's impacted the most has been those individuals who are on fixed incomes. So you have people who are on disability or Social Security, and they can't float with asking for a raise. Their income is what it is, and then when everything else goes up around them, they're going to lose one or the other. And usually it's going to be their rent first because it's the most expensive piece of their budget.
Absolutely. You were telling me about one or two facilities in particular, how you guys have a waiting list. Tell me how long that waiting list is and what your hopes are for that.
Yeah, we recently had renovated 2 hotels off of North Temple into deeply affordable housing, and that's for people who are in the 30% AMI and below, so average median income. And this is for seniors and veterans who our average income is about $1,200 a month, and their average age is 76. And we have over 400 people on a waiting list to get into those 2 facilities, and that's 100 each. We have 100 units in each one of those. But they these seniors are people who are saying, I haven't been homeless before. I've been in the same apartment for 26 years, and now that it's sold or the rent's raised, the rent is now more than I even bring in on my Social Security check. So that's, to me, we're at a crisis point with that type of housing.
And you said something, people want to be able to take care of themselves. They want to be able to provide for themselves. So for people who may see this, or, when we have these conversations around homelessness and say, everyone's struggling right now, like, why can't you do this? Why can't you work? What would you say to that?
We have a lot of clients who are working 2-3 jobs. But, if you're not making a great income, and the rent is the way it is, if you're not going to average at least $25 an hour right now, how do you pay the market rent here? It's a tough one. So even with our employees, it's a tough one. Yeah. You're bunking up. So it's not about working harder. We have to create opportunity for everybody to be at the level that they're at. And do you tell an 83-year-old to get back to work, after they've served our country and they're getting their Social Security? No. We have to have that opportunity for everybody, to have that dignity. I think one of the biggest things we've seen in our 10 years as SwitchPoint is creating environments where you actually have a community. That's where the dignity really comes in. They feel like they're valued, they feel like they belong there, it becomes their family, and they really stabilize out, and they take care of it. And that's what we need, right? These aren't projects or slums that we're trying to create. These are properties that really feel like family, like people feel like it's my big family.
Family. That's big here in Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know all about family.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us, Carol.
You're welcome.
SwitchPoint operates several shelters and services, including a soup kitchen, an emergency food pantry, and several connections to affordable housing. Reporting in studio, I'm Robin Oginye, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, in Garfield County, the Iron Peak Fire has burned an estimated 400 acres. It's burning in the Dixie National Forest near Paragona, north of Cedar City. It has seen no containment so far. Fire crews' aerial attack of this fire has limited growth, they say. Crews also hiked into the fire after they had trouble driving to it yesterday. Southern Utah has also seen a lot of precipitation lately. This is video of some of the high water our crews saw in St. George this morning. Wow, that is really something. You wonder how those trees are going to fare with a whole lot of water flowing through them. But Breck Bolton, that kind of precipitation could be really welcome to firefighters. We have dry thunderstorms in Utah, and that's not what you want.
No, with these thunderstorms, though, they are wet, producing the precipitation. We mentioned the Iron Peak fire. Looking and the expectation that there will be big improvements on that fire as showers threatening near Cedar City and pushing further northward as we're seeing the rain all across south central, southwestern Utah. This is a UDOT traffic camera. This is in Kanab. The rain falling currently and heavy precipitation just north of there as you make your move over towards Escalante. We knew it was going to be a day of some heavy rain. Flash flood watches have been in effect here across most of southern Utah, where we've been really getting the action going in Washington County. Earlier this morning, we had that flash flood warning in effect near Santa Clara, and then tracking over towards Zion National Park. That's still an area where we're looking at some rain and continue to see a supply of moisture and that heavy precipitation, as you can see from Colorado City, heading up just through Kanab up to Orderville, and then up near Bryce Canyon National Park. But as I mentioned, look at that kind of a light to moderate rainfall that continues to track northward near Cedar City. So portions of Garfield County, I should say, should be able to be looking at some rain, which will help out the fire situation there. Now, as we look over towards the northeast, we've been looking at some action just east of Green River, north of Arches, tracking up through Uinta Basin here across northern Utah. We've just seen a few isolated thunderstorms up near Tremont, moving up into southern Idaho, now having some impact across Bear Lake. So that surge of moisture hitting southern Utah is making a move here across the north. What does that mean your forecast for tomorrow and then leading into the weekend? We'll check on that coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Breck. The Democratic National Convention wraps up tonight with Vice President Kamala Harris accepting the nomination for president. Scripps News Deputy Political Director Joe St. George has more from Chicago on what we can expect from her speech.
It is a chance for the vice president to reach well over 20 million Americans who are expected to tune in for the speech. Around 25 million people watched former President Trump's convention acceptance speech in July. The same number or even more are expected to tune in Thursday night. Scripps News can report that the speech is expected to be high on patriotism, which has been a familiar theme throughout the convention. We expect Harris to contrast her vision for America with the vision that Democrats believe is the vision of former President Donald Trump. We also expect the vice president to use this made-for-TV mega political event to tell her life story. While she has been vice president for 4 years, she's only been a presidential candidate for a few weeks, and many Americans still don't know about her upbringing, her earlier years, and how that shapes her decisions today. Also speaking on Thursday, Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan and former Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, who spoke to Scripps News about why he thinks it's important for a conservative like him to speak at the DNC.
The thing I don't care about right now are the same policies that we've argued for 100 years and are going to argue for another 100 years. Because where the real threat is right now is we had a guy that convinced half of the country that an election was stolen. And self-governance does not exist when you don't believe your election system works. Eventually, there's going to be an outcry. And so we can always disagree on these issues. We're going to have the same debates. My kids' kids are going to have them. But we're in a specific moment now.
One of the biggest question marks on the final night of the Democratic National Convention is how much does Vice President Harris talk about policy? We know that the issue of inflation, housing, interest rates, the border remain driving factors for voters this election. A number of conservatives have criticized this convention for being a convention full of celebrities, but one that is lacking policy. Joe St. George, Scripps News, Chicago.
And you can watch Vice President Harris accept the Democratic Party's nomination for President of the United States live on Fox 13. Fox News coverage of the final night of the DNC starts at 8 o'clock. On the other side of the aisle, former President Donald Trump is campaigning in battleground state Arizona for the rest of the week. Today, he's touring the Arizona-Mexico border and then will be holding a rally in Glendale tomorrow. His focus will be on border security. Meanwhile, Trump's running mate J.D. Vance spoke to a rally crowd in Georgia today on the same topic. In the meantime, former President Trump's visit to Utah has been postponed. Republican Party of Utah Chairman Robert Axson says there was talk of Trump coming next week, but they don't believe the visit was ever fully confirmed. Now Trump's campaign is looking to pivot to a different date. Axson said he believes Trump is shifting to those battleground states. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is doing final preps for a campaign announcement that is set for tomorrow. He is billing it as his path forward. Kennedy's running mate says he's considering dropping out of the race and endorsing President Trump. In return, Trump has said he would consider giving Kennedy a role in a second Trump administration. Coming up, we'll show you how people in Ogden are coming together to help the family of a man who was struck by lightning while fishing on the Bear River last weekend. And it's a case that has made international headlines. Accused rapist Nicholas Rossi is back in court today. We'll have a recap.
A young man is dead and his brother is in the hospital after their boat was struck by lightning on the Bear River over the weekend. I'm Jenna Bree with Fox 13 News. One Ogden business is rallying the community to help the family.
That's his best friend. He would have done anything for him.
Hagen Wintle has known Bridger and Skylar Granith for over a decade.
They're always out fishing on the river, and they always wanted to be outside doing something in the nature, you know, whether it's hunting, fishing, snowboarding, skating. They've taught me a lot of almost everything I know about the outdoors.
Wintle says he can't imagine the trauma Bridger is dealing with after losing his brother late Saturday night.
I've been in and out of the hospital for the past few days, trying to just keep him company and keep his morale up a little bit, doing my best to just put a smile on his face. It's pretty hard though in these times.
Bridger worked at Tony's Pizza in Ogden for more than 6 years. The staff, still his second family.
They're always the first ones to help out with no hesitation when it came to anything.
Abraham Frejo says he wanted Tony's to help both men's families. Skylar leaves behind a wife, a 2-year-old, and another child on the way.
I was just lost, confused on why it happened, but I guess things happen for a reason.
This Sunday, starting at noon, Tony's will be selling $5 pulled pork sandwiches. All proceeds will go to the Granith family. In Ogden, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, turning to national news, one of the former Memphis police officers charged in the beating death of Tyree Nichols intends to change his plea in the federal case against him. Emmett Martin III previously entered a not guilty plea, but he now has a change of plea hearing set for Friday in federal court. Martin is one of 4 former officers facing federal charges, alleging they used excessive force in the beating that killed Nichols in January of 2023. The 4 officers also face multiple charges in the state case, including second-degree murder. All have pleaded not guilty to those charges. Pop megastar Taylor Swift is breaking her silence following the alleged terrorist plot that forced her to cancel all of her shows in Vienna, Austria this month. On Instagram, she did her usual wrap-up tour post to mark the end of the European leg of the Eras tour. She let fans know the reason for the cancellations filled her with, quote, a new sense of fear and tremendous guilt since so many people planned on coming. She added she waited until her tour leg was finished before saying anything because she wanted it to end safely. 3 teenagers have been detained in connection with the suspected terror plot. The FDA has approved new COVID-19 vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna. Both drug makers say their updated shots will be available in clinics and pharmacies within the next few days. The approval comes as the CDC says there has been a summer wave of the virus, although infection rates are below the levels seen over the past few years. Hikers no longer have to worry about having enough snacks at the Great Wall of China. I didn't know that was a worry. A Chinese food delivery giant is offering a new drone delivery service, bringing food, drinks, and other items, including medical supplies, to tourists in need. The primary service area is at a section of the legendary monument near Beijing. The company says their drones can carry about 5 pounds worth of items per trip and can navigate through moderate rain and wind. Getting a delivery will cost roughly 56 cents? Really? Whoa!
They do it cheaper in China.
Wow. Well, I want to get all my food in China now.
No. Well, the vending machines are sparse, so they need a little extra help with some drones on the wall.
Yeah, you know, and that's the drones are they're a little bit, kind of spitting in the face of that wall. The wall is supposed to stop everything.
Not drones. They did not plan for that. That's new technology.
We can fly.
That's right.
Right, Frick. How are things looking?
We've got some rain still going on. Earlier on, flash flooding towards southern Utah, where that's definitely an area where we're seeing some active weather and some heavy rain. We saw the rain, though, here across northern Utah as well. I want to share a video coming up on our Facebook page. This is in Taylorsville, where we got some brief rain, but heavy enough that it kind of overwhelmed some of the gutters there, pushing that garbage can off just a bit, where the precipitation somewhat diminishing here, at least throughout most of the Wasatch Front. St. George, you've got, this is round 3 today. Rain, another thunderstorm making its move right now, where we're seeing, again, that heavy precipitation and concerns for flooding still here as we move through the evening. Temperature right now at 73 degrees. Winds, it's been windy here across the state. Of course, that's bringing some fire concerns where it is dry, like here across the Wasatch Front, where we've got the sunshine, temperatures in the 90s. But again, we've been looking at wind gusts upwards of 30, even 40 miles per hour, and the winds will not be decreasing too much. In the overnight hours, yes, but we see, again, even some stronger winds come tomorrow. But it's about the rain here, where as we talk about the chances of precipitation, we're heavier, at least here for tonight, across south central towards southwestern Utah, thus like in areas that are prone to flash flooding. That's still going to be a concern. But we're going to start to see more rain and better chances of some rain come tomorrow until tomorrow evening. So everyone's going to be getting hit at different points, but that monsoon moisture in place and spreading here across the state. Now for today, the flash flood potential elevated here, expected for Grand Staircase Zion National Park. It's kind of rare that we move into that red, but that's where we find ourselves here again for the rest of the evening. Tomorrow, big improvements. Still a possibility, but we move away from the high probability, and it's just not expected, as you can see, for most national parks come tomorrow. But where we're seeing the rain, it is heavy, as those showers from Kanab pushing off towards the northeast, moving up through Bryce Canyon and Escalante will also track towards Capitol Reef, where we've been looking at some thunderstorms over towards Grand Junction in the Uinta Basin, but things settling out just a bit. But that next surge of moisture will be pushing through, so we'll keep active weather going. It looks like from Hanksville over towards Moab here as we move through the evening. Here across northern Utah, a few isolated thunderstorms. You can see this one now tracking, just looks like northwest of Tremont, and this other one that's going to be potentially having an impact for Brigham City. But that's about the situation. It's only a 20% chance here across northern Utah that we see that impact. But that cycle and pushing of moisture remains in effect here for the next couple of days before we wait for the arrival of this cool front. Now this cool front brings some cooler air, but not a lot of moisture. No, it'll actually kind of push away some of the moisture, where we see some big improvements from the weekend into next week. But here for the next couple of days, yeah, we'll see those chances of showers. Let's take a look at our computer models, where tonight 7:30 you see are in again with the focus here in the overnight with that cloud cover in place. Tomorrow we see, especially as we head into the mid-morning hours, central Utah seeing that push of some moisture, and then hitting the Wasatch Front, particularly the central, the southern end of the Wasatch Front right about the lunch hour, and then moving off towards southwest Wyoming. Tomorrow evening things look to be okay, so if you're planning on those Friday night football games, we should be okay. Saturday morning we're going to wake up clear conditions. Here's that front. It's going to be pushing through come late Saturday through Sunday, so we'll see that more bigger temperature drop heading into Sunday. But here along the Wasatch Front, that 20% chance of an isolated shower or thunderstorm for tomorrow. Highs still in the 90s, but where we see that cloud cover and rain in central and eastern Utah, temperatures should be a little bit on the cooler side. Like Price, your expected high of 77 degrees. But mid-90s in St. George, you're clearing out. A little bit cooler for the weekend, but back close to triple digits as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. Like I said, with this cool front, it's actually going to be turning off the monsoon flow, so we don't see much of a threat of showers. We will see some winds, though, Friday and Saturday. A little bit cooler on Sunday. How about 70s, but back into the 90s by the middle of next week. We'll be back right after the break.
All right, it's time for Fox 13 News Money Watch. Jobless claims inched up to 232,000 last week. Another low reading that may signal few people are being laid off, even as jobs become harder to find. That's leading up to a speech by Fed Chairman Jerome Powell in Jackson Hole, Wyoming tomorrow. Speculation is swirling about whether the Fed will order a rate cut next month. Wall Street was down across the board today on the heels of that job news. The Dow fell 177 points to close at 40,712. NASDAQ slipped nearly 300 points, and the S&P dropped 50. Fast food chain Chick-fil-A is reportedly working to launch its own streaming platform. Media outlets report the quick service chicken chain is in talks with major production companies and studios to create family-friendly shows. They would focus on original, unscripted, and possibly scripted shows and animation. Chick-fil-A has not confirmed the reports. Starting next month, members of Walmart's subscription program will now get a discount for Burger King orders. It'll be in the form of a 25% off code to all mobile orders. That's not the only promotion. Walmart Plus subscribers can also get one free Burger King Whopper every 3 months.
Famous former international fugitive Nicholas Rossi had his preliminary hearing for one of his rape trials today. What happened in court and what prompted him to speak up and correct the judge.
The day after the legislature meets in special session, groups are lining up for and against a proposed constitutional amendment.
Former international fugitive Nicholas Rossi appeared before a Salt Lake County judge today for his preliminary hearing for one of his rape trials. I'm Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser. Let's not forget all the time and work it took to get to this moment since the alleged assault occurred back in 2008. This is the man who officials say faked his own death, fled to Europe, was caught in a hospital in Scotland, then extradited back here in January. He's claimed he's being framed and that his real name is actually Arthur Knight and he's an Irish orphan. Rossi has had a tendency in the past to get feisty with judges. The only time he spoke up in court today was when he corrected the judge.
Mr. Rossi? Knight. Still Mr. Knight? I find and conclude that the state has met its burden and has presented evidence sufficient to establish probable cause to believe that the crime charged in the information was committed, and it was committed by this defendant.
Today's preliminary hearing was over an alleged rape that occurred here in Salt Lake County 16 years ago. His preliminary hearing for the other sexual assault case, also from 2008, is in Utah County next Tuesday. Rossi's arraignment in a potential bail hearing is set for October 17th at 10 a.m. The only person we heard on the witness stand today was the former state sexual assault investigator that was the lead on Rossi's case. You'll hear what he had to say coming up later on Fox 13 News at 9. Reporting in Salt Lake, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Campaigning begins over a proposed constitutional amendment on citizen ballot initiatives.
Next, we try to convince the people that a constitutional amendment is not needed.
I'm Ben Winslow on Utah's Capitol Hill. Following the legislature's special session to put it on the November ballot, groups are already lining up for and against it. The legislature voted to put a constitutional amendment before voters on citizen ballot initiatives. It's in response to a Utah Supreme Court ruling that declared the legislature overstepped its powers when it overrode a citizen ballot initiative on independent redistricting.
We don't want to be like California. We want Utah to stay Utah. We're the best managed state. We don't want 20 or 30 initiatives on the ballot every year.
But Republican legislative leaders worry the court's ruling opens the floodgates to a bunch of citizen ballot initiatives and ties their hands to fix any problems with them.
I don't have any predetermination of what's going to happen, but I do think we have to have clarity. When we have a vague decision by the Supreme Court with vague definitions, we don't know how to move forward. We need to ask for clarity. If we don't get it, we don't get it. Well, we have no choice really than to ask.
Democrats disagree.
I personally don't think that the people of Utah are going to vote away their constitutional rights to pass legislation. I'm confident that people are going to recognize it for what it is and it will fail.
Now that it's on the ballot, groups are gearing up to convince voters to either approve it or reject it.
We will rally the troops and figure out what the next steps are to take.
Sunny Washington is on the board of Utah Tech Leads, a political action committee representing the state's tech industry. She says a survey of their members found 84% oppose the amendment.
Whether you're from tech, whether you're a part of a certain party, whatever county you're from, we want citizens to be able to retain that power. And this very much feels like government overreach.
But the Salt Lake Chamber, the state's largest business group, supports the legislature's move to put it on the ballot. The chamber says the amendment restores certainty and balance between legislative and initiative processes, prohibits foreign influence, and avoids Utah becoming a state that's governed by unfettered, unlimited, and unchangeable ballot initiatives. The Senate president tells me he'll urge voters to approve it.
I have confidence in the people that they'll make good decisions.
Now, this could be a crowded ballot in November, depending on where you live. There's another constitutional amendment. That one removes the earmark on the income tax for education. If it passes, the legislature removes the state portion of the sales tax on food. If you live in Salt Lake County, you'll have a $500 million bond for public safety and homelessness to consider. If you live in Salt Lake City, there's a $730 million bond that's for school upgrades. And if you live in Utah County or parts of Utah County, you will likely be deciding the Alpine School District split. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The founder of the former anti-human trafficking organization Exodus pleaded no contest to 9 felonies today, including fraud, theft by deception, and forgery. Candace Laird was arrested last year after an investigation showed she had made false representations to donors while using some of the money for personal expenses, as well as homes, cars, and trips. Today, she waived her rights to a jury trial with a no contest plea. That's an option defendants use to accept a court's ruling without formally admitting guilt. In all, Laird faces up to a maximum of 5 to 15 years in prison for each count when she's sentenced in the weeks ahead. In Layton, police shot and killed a man overnight. It happened at a home near 28th West and 12th North. The man's wife reported he was suicidal and had a gun. Police were able to safely get her out of the home. Then they heard a gunshot go off inside before they say the 59-year-old man came to the front door with a gun and a rifle. And that's when officers fired and the man died at the hospital. Salt Lake County District Attorney Sim Gill will not file charges against 9 police officers from Taylorsville, West Valley City, and Unified Police in connection with a deadly shooting in Magna last November. That was back on November 15th when police found 48-year-old Joseph Black outside his home with 2 of his guns. Neighbors called 911 for shots fired, and it turns out Black was fighting with somebody else in the home. The 9 officers shot and killed Black after he refused to surrender to them, and he pointed his gun at them. Gill found that their use of deadly force was justified.
Oh, it's just absolutely crazy. Just look at the amount of devastation and damage that happened up there, all in the matter of an hour. It was just totally unreal.
It may seem like just a small part of this lumber mill behind me burned overnight Wednesday, but it's burned something larger away from the heart of this southern Utah town. I'm Chris Reed in Panguitch, and the family that owns this mill and the community around them are still picking up the pieces. Investigators still don't know why a fire broke out in the machinery that cuts logs into lumber at K&D Forest Products. It's one of the larger lumber mills in the state. Panguitch's fire chief said he's brought in the state fire marshal to investigate further. The blaze started at 10:30 Wednesday night when no one was on site. A worker from a concrete mixer across the street was the first to notice it.
I was working and I could smell like electrical fire, like wires burning. And my first thought it was one of the pieces of equipment around here. I got out and started looking around, and then I seen the glow back up across the street.
Bridges alerted the fire department and started fighting the fire himself with a garden hose, but was soon joined by more than 20 firefighters from at least 5 different departments. It was long overnight as it took 4 hours to quell the fire. They didn't wrap up until 4:30 in the morning. The fire didn't spread to existing lumber supply, but the machinery that makes the lumber was melted and flattened. K&D has been run by the Franston family for generations. They were too distraught to speak, as were many onlookers who came to check in on them. Besides Panguitch's farms, the mill is the biggest industry in what is the largest city in Garfield County, but has a small population under 1,700.
Well, I'm not sure how many employees they've got. I'm guessing 20, 25, somewhere in there. That's a little town of 1,500. That's a lot of families. Yeah, that's a long time to be without employees, and then people are going to move on as life moves on. So, yeah, going to be a rough one.
From Panguitch, Chris Reed, Fox 13 News, Utah.
With the Olympic Summer Games wrapped up, our Utah athletes are returning home. And today we caught up with Sam Watson, the speed climber. He holds a new world record and he won a bronze medal for the sport with a time of 4.74 seconds. The 18-year-old is set to begin his freshman year at the University of Utah this fall. He says he has a positive outlook on the future, calling his bronze medal win a blessing in disguise.
I think also winning bronze helped in a way. It was a blessing in disguise in the sense that I've wanted to win a gold medal for so long as one of my biggest pursuit in life, and now that essentially hasn't changed. I still want to do that, and I still want to pursue that goal.
He says moving forward, he just wants to get a time under 4.5 seconds as he looks ahead to the 2028 Games in Los Angeles. Coming up, we'll give you a preview of the Grid City Music Festival happening this weekend in South Salt Lake.
By making those weekend plans, we need to give you a preview of an approaching storm. Will it spoil any of your weekend plans? I'll let you know after the break.
Hey, later in sports, a glance ahead to tonight's high school football game in Draper, where the Chargers Corner Canyon will host a perennial power, plus game week for not only the Utes, but Southern Utah as well. Hear from both sides as college football begins for real over the weekend.
Take my breath away from me.
I'm Fox 13 News reporter Darian DeBrule in South Salt Lake. If you love music and you're looking for weekend plans, I have the perfect community event for you. Summer may be coming to an end, but the sweet sounds of summer are just beginning in South Salt Lake.
It's a breath of fresh air because we haven't had anything like this as long as I can remember that just features local artists on this magnitude.
The third annual Grid City Music Fest is back this weekend. It'll feature 62 world-class murals, multiple local businesses, and 54 local bands and musicians, including Drew Reynolds. Just kidding, but he is the co-founder of the festival.
It is an amazing time for you to come out and see local live music for free.
You can also travel in style to different venues with the free fun bus, thanks to the South Salt Lake Arts Council.
South Salt Lake is unique in that it's got all these breweries and murals and kind of an artsy vibe, what they call the creative industries zone. So it makes it a perfect place to incubate something like this.
It's hard to be a musician and it can feel exhausting, so just to have people in the community that are, giving you gigs, and not just a gig, but a whole, community. It's amazing.
Local artists like Melissa Chilinsky, who's a rock star on the banjo, and Terrence Hansen, who plays a one-of-a-kind cross-neck guitar, say events like the Grid City Music Fest are important to local musicians.
I understand how tough it is and how committed you have to be to do this. So it's nice if people appreciate it or at least can enjoy what I do.
A lot of these people have 3 jobs or 2 jobs, and they just play music so you can hear it and enjoy it. And it's just incredible to watch them perform their art.
The event will have a ticketed local headliner Friday and Saturday night with a carnival-like atmosphere. And Drew hopes the fun and community can keep on growing.
The more people that come, the bigger it gets every year. And we want to do this for a real long time. We want to sew this festival into the fabric of Utah and Salt Lake City.
Roll me down under a juniper tree.
If you want to support local musicians and be part of all the fun, you can come out to the Grid City Music Fest this weekend. We have more information on how you can get involved on our website, fox13now.com. In South Salt Lake, Darian DeBrule, Fox 13 News, Utah.
What a great idea. It's always so fun to walk into work in the morning and have a musician on Good Day Utah. You just walk in and you hear a local person who's so talented.
I know. We have such great local talents. That's definitely a festival that we can highlight that. So an opportunity here for the weekend. Of course, we got to have Mother Nature cooperate. No big impacts from the storms that we've been receiving, where today Southern Utah, you probably want to avoid some of your hiking plans, where we've been saying that flash flood watch in effect here as we've been looking at some flash flooding. Not any warnings in place right now, but earlier on we did have some warnings in place in Washington County. Right now, this is a view from a UDOT traffic camera in Bryce Canyon. The showers now moving throughout that region. Here, though, along northern Utah, things are fairly quiet. There is a couple of areas of just some isolated showers in extreme northern Utah. Temperatures with the winds in combination actually a little bit above normal today, so we're still feeling that summer heat. But for today, we knew that the excessive rain possibilities were across central and southern Utah. That's where we're looking at those showers right now. Now for tomorrow, from the Storm Prediction Center, we're going to see a little bit more of a focus across eastern Utah, extreme northern Utah, southwest Wyoming. So that moisture that's been in place across southern Utah migrating to the north, giving us a better threat of those thunderstorms here, even throughout the Wasatch Front in northern Utah. But let's take a look at where we're seeing the action right now. St. George, things are improving. We move a little bit further east from Kanab, heading over towards Bryce Canyon. That's the zone right now where we're seeing the heavy rain. As we turn towards southeastern Utah, some showers, but that moisture making us move over towards you, where overnight you'll be holding on to those chances of rains or rain, I should say, and even a possibility of some thunderstorms. Where we were looking at a little bit of thunderstorm activity near Bear Lake. It looks like just northwest of Tremonton, but all in all, it's fairly quiet and should be here across northern Utah. But we've got the winds, these southerly winds that'll be in place once again tomorrow. We'll be looking at some winds gusts upwards of 40, maybe even 50 miles per hour. Thus, we do have red flag warnings in effect. Here's the thing, though. We've been getting the precipitation across southern Utah in areas where we've had some fires. This is helping out the situation where we'll keep that chance of rain going, mainly across central, southeastern Utah as we look over the next 24 hours. But portions of the Wasatch Front through the Wasatch back hitting in by tomorrow morning. We start to see it fill in a little bit more right near the lunch hour as those showers really take form here across northern Utah and then pushing away. Now we've got a cool front coming through. It's lacking somewhat in moisture. It will produce maybe some light rain, but all in all, it's actually going to allow this monsoon moisture and flow to be pushed off towards the east. So we kind of turn off the rain once we get into the weekend, into next week. But here for tonight, there is a chance of an isolated shower or thunderstorm here along the Wasatch Front. But hold on to your plans. You might just get a brief interruption. That's about it. But you can see we'll be looking at partly cloudy skies here in the overnight hours. So better chance of some showers here across northern Utah come tomorrow. Highs will be once again close to average, where across eastern Utah we have some bigger or wider cloud cover and chances of rain. We'll be looking at some cooler temperatures. Now for St. George, there's still a chance of some rain and some thunderstorms. Once we get past tomorrow, we're good to go. So your weekend plans, A-OK. Southern Utah looks to be even a little bit more comfortable with temperatures, even though we're still in the 90s, but returning close to triple digits by Tuesday and Wednesday. Now for northern Utah, another day and actually 2 days near 90 degrees. That cool front hits late Saturday through Sunday, so expect a breezy and blustery day on Saturday. So be aware of that just for your plans for Saturday. Sunday, enjoyable, sunny with some cooler temperatures. How about just 70s, but back into the 90s by the middle of next week.
A big high school football game on tap tonight in Draper, with Corner Canyon developing a national profile in recent years. It's only fitting to see the Chargers with national power programs on their schedule. Last season, it was number 2 Bishop Gorman, a game they led at the half. And this year, the third-ranked IMG Academy out of Florida is in town for a 7 o'clock kick. Corner quarterback Helaman Kasuga says they're ready for that test.
These schedules really help you and prepare. As just a man, and like you just gotta go out and play and have fun. Obviously, given the opportunity to play against IMG is a big blessing. Being able to play on that platform, I never played on that high of a caliber team, so we're excited. We're more and more blessed and scared.
Exactly 1 week from tonight, college football will take flight here in Utah. The 12th-ranked Utes hosting an in-state clash with Southern Utah, a game Kyle Whittingham and company should win routinely, with so much returning firepower on the offensive side.
Well, we never take anybody for granted, but yeah, we're excited that Cam is back out there and Brant's back out there. Really excited about the team overall. A lot of good things going for us right now, but none of that matters unless it translates to the game field on Thursdays or Saturdays, as the case may be. But we're excited to have those guys that have played so much good football for us that were missing last year to have them back this year.
As for the T-Birds, they enter year number 3 under head coach Delane Fitzgerald. Last season, SUU finished with the program's first winning record since 2017, but they'll be tested early. On top of the Utes, they get another FBS opponent with a trip to UTEP after that.
This is the best offseason that any team that I've ever been a part of has had. We're bigger, faster, stronger, and deeper than we've ever been than any football team that I've ever coached. Now, that is absolutely meaningless if we don't have heart. If we rest on our laurels, if we don't have any heart and any grit and any of that when the rubber meets the road in a game, none of it matters.
Only 2 more events to the season on the PGA Tour, including this week's BMW Championship, where Tony Finau is one of 50 golfers vying for a FedEx Cup. He easily survived the top 70 last week. Tony Volcanic caught on the front 9, a slew of birdie rolls. That one at 3, a 22-footer to follow here. And yes, I measured myself just to make sure. No bogeys on the front, a couple on the back. Tough shot on the wrong side of the cart path. Chips into the rough, but after a nice 3rd and 4th shot, he birdied the par 5 14. He almost finished his round before weather postponed play. Finau currently in a tie for 11th. He'll take that at -2. Of course, the PGA Tour coming to Utah next season in October. The Black Desert. Out in Ivins.
down in what, Hurricane or wherever that
Ivins,
was?
yeah,
Ivins, okay.
That state-of-the-art course over there.
Yeah.
That I have yet to see, but we need to change that.
Okay.
Let's take a
I'll
trip.
lobby for you there,
Yeah.
Morgan. We'll be right back. All right, I hope you're all having a great Thursday. There's a lot going on. If you want to watch baseball, that's on
our other station,
Channel 13,
right.
and of course the convention after that. So thanks for watching. We hope you're back here for Fox 13 News at 9.